Hey guys, we are back at it again in our beautiful Sport Optics studio. We are going to be telling you the differences between a straight and an angled spotting scope and why you would want to go with one over the other. My name is Sean.
And I'm Jace.
And let's just get into it, fellas. We're going to talk about the straight spotting scope first and why someone would want to go with it. So let's say you're that guy who just likes to hang out in his car and just look at stuff far away, or just get really good detail of stuff that's not too far away. These are going to work great for a window mount. And the reason being is if you are using an angled, you're already kind of in a less ideal position when you're in the car. You know, you're sitting here facing the wheel. You already have to tilt your entire body 90 degrees to look out the window. So dealing with an angle, you'd be in this position sort of trying to look, which is obviously less than ideal. So just being able to look straight is going to be a much more ideal position for you to be in over what I just demonstrated. Another reason why you want to go with a straight is if you are in an elevated position looking downwards. So you're at the top of a mountain or something, and if you were to go with an angled, then you're kind of in this weird position where the angle, you know, your scope is looking downward and you're kind of like this. It's just not a pleasant experience comparatively to using a straight spotting scope. You can just be like, easy line of sight. Another reason someone would want a straight over an angled, but you could go with an angled. It really is a personal preference at this point. I have customers who do both. Is if you're, you know, one of those bench rest shooters, and instead of dealing with an angle, you are looking through your rifle scope, and then you can just shift a little bit and look through your spotting scope to see where your point of impacts are instead of dealing with the angle. But some people don't mind. So, you know, all personal preference. As far as what we sell the most of, it's probably about a 90-10 split. Most of people are going to be going with a angled spotting scope over a straight one, and Jace is going to get into all the details of why most people go with an angled.
Yeah, so for all the reasons that Sean talked about why a straight would be superior, as you can imagine, it's essentially the inverse, and then every other reason you can think of why the angled is going to be superior. And as Sean mentioned, we sell 9-to-1 angled over straight for these reasons. The first and foremost largest reason, I guess, would be just essentially overall comfortability when using with a spotter on, you know, relatively flat ground, which is how these are going to be used, you know, most of the time. Generally speaking, especially for even just average height people, and especially taller people like myself, tripods aren't going to comfortably get the spotter to like eye level that you would preferably, you know, want if you were looking for a straight, for instance. If you have a straight spotting scope and you're looking out, you're gonna have to be, you know, doing this number right here, hunching down, you know, turtling your neck. It's not extremely comfortable. So to have an angled spotter where you're essentially, you know, in a standing position, you tilt your head down a little bit, bam, you are perfectly in line behind the eyepiece and you get a perfect image. And also kind of in that same vein, if you are using this with multiple people, you know, you have multiple people at different heights, you need to adjust for each individual person. It's going to be easier to adjust for angled than it would be for the straight. And then also to add to that even further, you have a little bit extra versatility in the angled when it comes to getting behind it. If you're in a non-ideal position or you need to, again, adjust it for a different person, you can essentially loosen your body or your eyepiece. It's different on some models, but it all functions about the same. You are generally going to have a little knob down here, either on the left or right side, and it's going to allow you to essentially rotate the entire unit basically 180 degrees to, you know, fit whatever position you need it to be in. And then also on the inverse of something Sean mentioned earlier, you know, when you're glassing downwards down a hill or valley or whatever, yes, of course it is much easier to glass downward using a straight, but the inverse is true with the angled. If you need to glass upwards for any particular reason, you know, up a hill, mountain, you're down in the valley, whatever, you're doing some stargazing, which, plenty of people use this for stargazing as well, then, obviously looking in a more upwards position is going to be easier with the angled.
So that's pretty much the main reasons why you want to go with one over the other. I prefer my angled in the vast majority of applications. And like Jace was saying, especially if you're glassing with multiple people, because when you're on a tripod and you see something and it was a little bit of a pain to get that tripod perfect, tightening all the knobs and whatnot, getting it locked in there and steady, the last thing you want to do is adjust the height of that and lose your image. So just being able to loosen this knob and rotate it to someone who's shorter than you, or if you got some kids with you, that's a very, very nice feature to have. And I mean, I've been able to convince people who think they need a straight to go with an angled just for that reason alone. So a lot of stuff you can do with an angled.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you fall within these parameters, hopefully we answered your questions. If not, if you have any more specific questions or need us to go into detail more on anything else at all, you have a particular situation that's unique to you maybe, and we have to talk through what situation might be better for you, we're more than happy to do that.
So that's it. Feel free to give us a call. We are always happy to talk to you on the phone. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
God bless, guys.